Hello everyone and welcome. Yes, my name is Arrowfire. Welcome back to another episode of Look Out and Shout. Back to the third party reviews. Today we are finally getting around to reviewing Fanstoys FT-31A Roadking, their version of a G1 Motormaster. I did not want to go in for this set originally. The Stunticons have never been my absolute favourite team. I like the alt modes, the characters are fine enough. Menasor was never my absolute favourite combiner. Not to say these didn't look good, but I did get Smokey drag strip before, and I decided not to go in for the set. But with it now looking like it's going to be completed, with Bandit and the combiner parts being shipped very shortly and very expensively, I thought I would go in for this set. And then, of course, people are selling their collections now that they know the fifth member is coming out and they know they will get a sale. I was able to get all four in one hit, so expect 4 reviews to come out in very short order. The box itself is nice, with very nice artwork on the top and bottom, and on the back you get the somewhat more limited product shots, which were of the time for Fanstoys. They didn't really go in for the nice background and deco, they are just fairly grayscale. My box is ever so slightly damaged at the bottom, bit of a shame, but that is what it is. Synopsis on the side. Inside the box comes the figure itself in robot mode, along with accessories, collector's card and instructions. Let's get on with the review, shall we? And here he is in his robot mode. Definitely this guy has presence. He was the one I always wanted when I saw some photos of him. Whilst he might be suffering of his age now, one of the older Fanstoys figures out there, man, has this guy got presence and stance and intimidation in spades. He looks exactly like what you'd want a masterpiece Motormaster to look like, at least in the terms of robot mode. Really can't fault how they designed him. You can say that Motormaster is a very boring character. He's very, very square. And the most attractive feature of him, if anything, are his feet, which make up the front of the cab. And he's not the most appealing colour scheme. He's very muted colouring, mono colouring. But Fanstoys have seen that challenge, much like some of the other third parties, but particularly Fanstoys. They have stepped up to the challenge and made him look a very imposing figure. He's very, very large. Torso bots typically would be. Motormaster is as well. But yeah, when you take it out of the box, you really do get that sense of, oh, this guy is all the heft, all the chonk and all the stock. And I'm all for it. Let's get in for a closer look. I was actually quite pleased the turntable rolled for him. If I can try and get it all into shot. So due to his height and angle of the light box, it's a bit hard to get everything into focus. So I've zoomed in and also got him tilting down a little bit, so you can see the expression he comes with. That's the one I've chose to put on. He does come with an alternative face, a more placid face. But the shouty face is very akin to his character, and I think that looks really cool. You can just about see there's this kind of dusty purple on. It's very, very slight. When you get it in hand, you can sort of see his cheeks, rather than being a bit rosy, have just got that tint of purple going across. You certainly see it more in comparison to the other parts of the body that are a much stronger purple. But it's really very, very nice. A very good head sculpt, even though the head itself is just largely square. Now, of course, the elephant in the room is this colossal backpack, which is all of his trailer. This is what Fanstoys decided to do. They said that they would have the entirety of Motormaster as one figure. And I thought, okay, that's fine. That's a bold challenge. And I'm not looking forward to the transformation. I haven't necessarily heard it's awful, but I haven't heard it's brilliant either. It's an interesting move that Fanstoys went down. They did not want an attachable trailer. They didn't want a secondary object. How ironic that here we are now, where they're just about to release Bandit with a secondary trailer. So had they have gone down an X-Transbots or a DX9 route of just having a cab only, and then you had to purchase a trailer, which would have made it, I think they would have copped flack for it either way. But still, that's fine. That's just where we are. It's a little difficult to show you some of his other features close up. Maybe if I can get the light to reflect off him. He's largely dark-chested. So if I turn the sword away, obviously one of his main accessories. Not an awful lot going on. It's fairly solid. A few gubbins around here and there. But otherwise it's all fairly plain. Not really highlighting. The main detail is around the feet, which as you can see hold a lot of real cab, faux cab parts. Faux cab for the front of his feet anyway. And then these tiny little wheels very akin to the character's design, but will of course not make up the actual wheels, they're far too small. But how it all very nicely cascades away. I do like that actually. It's all of his gubbins, but look how compact it all goes into grooves on back of the feet. That's very nice. So yeah, pretty good all throughout. Do think the sword is a little bit on the basic side. It's going to ultimately combine up to make Menasau's sword, Marauder's sword, but here for the here and now with Roadking, he holds it well enough. It just looks a bit basic on the hilt, and you've got this rather protruding bit here. I've also got a little bit of damage on this one. It's a second-hand copy I picked up. And additionally, he comes with this other gun, which is a nice enough blaster rifle. If you've got the other Stunticon figures, I find, and we'll see this as I go through the reviews of them, their guns, their weapons are just a bit ordinary. This is what I've said before, they're just generic blasters and they're nothing too fancy and special. However, this is nice enough, got a nice sort of scope to it. And there he is with really his only accessories that he comes with, other than his other face sculpt. Yeah, it's pretty cool. He's kind of only got a limited range of articulation, but he can hold it around like a trigger finger. You can just about see it protruding there. I like that. A little minor touch, but it's nice. Just to show you his other face sculpt that he comes with, if you can see it. Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's very Menasau looking rather than Motormaster, but it just plugs on easy enough. Again, I prefer the shouty face, but that's the two flavours that you come with. Now, as this was released around 2019 or so, this was kind of your limit for accessories for Fanstoys back then. This was before the Preceptor, the Tesla 2.0, when it was throwing in multiple headstocks and multiple guns. And now it's a case of you get two weapons, or rather back then, you get two weapons and an alternative face, and that was kind of your lot when it came to Fanstoys. So yeah, a little bit of a limitations and a bit of a shame. I suppose you can say this is coming up to a 6-year-old figure now, so very much a figure of its time. I'll try and show you some articulation as best I can. So the head rotation goes all the way around pretty good. Can't really look up, can't really look down. I mean, he is largely bulky square, but that's a little bit of a shame. Arm rotation out on a nice ratchet, gets a full 360 there. Outward on a very toothy ratchet like that. Also gets a bit of a butterfly movement for across the chest, but more transformation in mind. You can actually see his wheel just hiding in there, but you could say it's articulation, I guess. It's a little bit cheeky, but there you go. No ab crunch, but you do just get to tilt down a little bit. Waist rotation, but starts to bump into his massive trader-infused backpack. Bit of a shame that, but that's the choice they made. Bicep rotation, mine's a little stiff. This is just below the forearm. He does have a double-jointed elbow, but not the most extendable one you'll come across. Wrist rotation's pretty nice, and particularly on Roadking, the larger figures, one of the larger figures out there, all pretty good. Finger rotation doesn't spread the fingers, but you get all bendable fingers at the knuckles. Holds the weapons nicely, no droopage there. Onto the legs, he's quite heavy to hold. Getting the hip skirts out. Nice locking on the front of the hip for outward movement, and he's kicking down the door. Nice big boot. No droopage as well. Friction out of the side, and that's where the problem lies. It will hold, but there it goes. No teeth on the ratchets, just a friction joint, so it won't take the weight. It's a very heavy leg. Very good bend at the knee. Very heavy ratchets there. All the weight in the right place there. And more or less, that's your ankle rotation, which is pretty good, but I've had a bit of trouble setting him, if you know what I mean, because of it. He's very leg heavy and quite kibble carrying on the legs. So you end up really trying to flatten the ankles before you start anywhere else. It's fine, it holds, but there's a lot to untab there and move. His side panels just here will start to come away, and then you move them out of the way, and you can see that's the feet gap that comes apart, so that's all the weight that's basing on there. It's fine, it doesn't fall over, quite the reverse. He's very stocky, but yeah, he's a lot of weight. The weight's got to go somewhere. Okay, on to some comparisons. Getting ahead of ourselves with the reviews, but here he is alongside his successor in the release order anyway. Here he is alongside Fanstoys' spoiler, their version of Breakdown. So you can see how much he is dwarfing them by, and that's okay, that works for me. Not just because he's a torso bot, but the fact he is a truck, and Motormaster was a big character. He probably wasn't a million miles from Ultra Magnus, certainly shoulder to shoulder with Prime. So yeah, that probably works for me, considering this guy will be keeping with the Masterpiece Cardbot scale. This is quite cool, alongside a more recent release from Magic Square with their Night Tracer, their Onslaught. So two different companies, and Magic Square not going for the absolute highest end of Masterpiece. That's fine, that's their choice. I do wonder, whenever Fanstoys get round to the Combaticons, how big is their Onslaught going to be? Is he going to be standing more or less shoulder to shoulder with Roadking? I'm not against it at all. I think this is very good. I'm very, very happy with this, but obviously this is not carrying the amount of diecast that Roadking is. But they stand pretty good for two different companies, but both going for that G1 aesthetic. I do really like it. And here he is alongside Takara MP36 Megatron. Perfectly happy with him being taller than Megatron. I think that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, it's pretty good. Two different companies, and he is his creator, so you would possibly display them side by side. I think it works quite well. Now, this is an interesting one, alongside Takara MP44 Optimus Prime. He is quite a bit taller than him, but this is going for much more of a slended one, I suppose. Much more of a slended Prime from the cartoon. The upcoming Takara release under the MPG line might be a different story. This is surprisingly different to me. I think it scales much better with the Megatron than it does with MP44. And yeah, I am just that little bit surprised. Two different companies and two different time periods apart. But I do wonder, is that in terms of canon, is that correct? I would possibly think these two would be a bit more closer together. Perhaps, maybe down here. And if you went to DX9 or X-Transbots, they would be. But yeah, I'm a little bit surprised. Do you want to just put them together? Okay, let's get this guy transformed up, shall we? And there he is in his alt mode. Now, I put the photo up on Twitter with the typical middle finger expressing my anger at the transformation. It actually wasn't that bad. It was involved, fairly heavily involved, but it wasn't frustrating. It just was a lot of steps to it. But broadly speaking, when you go through it quite systematically, thank you very much, MGO, for the transformation step with the video, it's actually quite good. Everything goes into its place. A couple of bits you have to go at a couple of times, but everything lines up and stays lined up. Got that kind of assurance with it being Fanstoys, but is it over-engineered? I don't know. I would have been okay if this was an entirely detachable trailer and a solid piece that you just take away, or if this made up the combiner frame, which, funny enough, it does. But with the Bandit release, that is, anyway. But I don't want to take away from the engineering. Fanstoys has done a very good job in that regard. It does a very good transformation. When you consider of all of the things such as Optimus Prime, anything that's a truck that has to form into a robot, the trailer tends to separate when it's Rodimus, Ultra Magnus to a lesser degree. But it's not easy to form it all into a robot. They've done a very good job going from a cascading down back piece to what largely makes up this trailer. It's a very good, sizable, just the right size of a Motormaster in an MP scale. I have sampled other Motormasters before, and you could say they more or less get the aesthetic right, other than slightly variants on the top of the cab with a double windscreen. There's not an awful lot else to do, but it does the job well enough. So, let me just show you a bit of articulation as much as can be done. Now, with the... how can I put this? The bendable front, which if you've held the figure, you know what I mean. If I pull it up into shot, it kind of hinges on this front piece to a bit like that, and it relies on it being flattened out to get that kind of ground clearance. So it can lead for the middle wheel not to spin ever so slightly. It will turn, everything rolls, but it is slightly protruding. The only bit I couldn't really get tied up is, if you can just about see it, you probably won't, one of these front tabs doesn't go in, but that is about it. It turns as almost 90 degrees round, which is good. Just under 90 degrees maybe, which is more than our Mark did anyway. And yeah, all wheels clear nicely. Now, weapon storage. This is nice. Look at that. That's very good. Very tidy, very straightforward. I don't believe, and I could be wrong, that there is anywhere for you to plug in the alternative face. Now, you could put it into the back section if you just fold the back down, which you can kind of do, but I don't think there is a dedicated peg for it. I might be wrong. I haven't found a way to do it, but it's not to say it's not there. But for the bigger accessories, that's pretty good. You can house it all there, and if the face has to live in a box, then it probably will. Just to say, on the back end of the trailer, there is the early design shot that the vehicle can come out the back of it, but of course it won't store all the way in. I say the vehicle, one of the other Stunticons. You imagine they probably are the length of half the trailer if you were to put it in the back of the trailer, and he hasn't got that much clearance. He's only got this kind of back section. So if you were to have it coming down like a car's coming out the back of Motormaster, yes, you could do that. It's not essential. Some people really clamber for it. I would say Motormaster was never really seen as a vehicle transporter. You'll get that much more with Prime or Ultra Magnus than Motormaster. Just want to focus on the front of the cab. I have seen it, you won't get it necessarily in the light, but there's this lovely purple tinge. I have seen some kind of black cell shaded designs, some stickers you can get for it. Love these top red lights. It's the right colouring. Very reflective front grille. It's very, very good. I do really like it. But some of the intricacies, again, how everything folds out and tabs in. These top sections are from his arms. Half of the arm folds out, tabs in. It's surprising how much thought has gone in for all of these lines that you see are panels that fold out and move. Might seem a bit obvious to say, but it really is impressive when you look back at this figure as a whole. And you can see just how many panels are here and how well it's formed the shape. There's very minor gappage anywhere. And it's all from the figure in a stand upright robot mode. Okay, this could be busy. On to some comparisons. Here he is alongside Fans Hobby Lightning Eagle, their version of a G1.5 Thunderclash. Very different aesthetics going on here, similar sort of size. This is very much an elongated trailer and going for the big accentuated cannons as such was the time. Yeah, nice to have side by side. I think it is quite cool if you've got a convoy of convoys, if you know what I mean. But it is quite a different aesthetic. I mean, you just got to look at the front of the trucks. This is very much going for an Earth-based vehicle, and, well, this certainly isn't. But yeah, overall, that's pretty good. Here he is alongside Magic Square's Light of Freedom, their first offering of the MP scale, with the MP10 trailer put onto it. So this is very much a good comparison, a good size comparison. It's not a trailer that's meant for this figure, hence why it's ever so slightly raised. It just sits on it, but this is the one I use for Prime in Alt mode. Again, two different companies, but you do see the kind of based off one another. You can easily see these two ramming into one another. It's a good face-off to have of the two. It's something that I am looking forward to whenever Fanstoys get around to doing an Optimus Prime, how it's going to look alongside this Motormaster, how it's going to look alongside Roadking. So yeah, very cool to see, I guess you could say these nemesis together, but Motormaster couldn't really hold a candle to Prime in the cartoon, but it's good to see how they look here. And a bit of foreboding for another review. Here he is alongside Fanstoys Smokey, their version of Drag Strip. It's going to be a cool set when it's all said and done. I mean, when you get a combiner team all together, when they're all in their vehicle modes, it's going to look quite cool. It is quite a unusual comparison to make. I mean, a Formula 1 car is not going to scale with a truck, but those kind of colours complement one another, and we know they are part of the same team. It's quite a sizable car bot, though, when you look at it, and there's probably almost no way, I'd say, that he would fit inside, because the wheels are bigger than the truck. So even if he were to fit in that just rear section, he probably wouldn't be able to get the back end of Drag Strip in. It's probably more for the likes of Spoiler or Bandit, whenever Bandit comes out. So what is my view on Hank Hill? I will have to keep it in truck mode because I will not have time to get it all transformed back to finish this review off. It is a fairly involved transformation. I'll start with the transformation. I do think it is an odd choice maybe to go all in one. Kind of, it's very Fanstoys to do that heavy end challenge, the engineering challenge. I know this is 2019, but we've seen it more recently with Marg and how much they tried with the Ultra Magnus to do the inner white Prime fully transformed along with the trailer and the armour. Fanstoys do like a challenge of what they can pull off. Now, they have done a very good job coming the end of it. I thought it would be quite daunting. I'm pleased to say it wasn't as bad as I could have experienced. It wasn't as bad as I thought for something that is a fair bit older now. So I can't really see it improved on all that much. But did it need to be done? Part of me thinks it's been overcomplicated. X-Transbots decided to go with the exterior trailer that makes up the combiner frame. I'll get onto the combiner frame for Menasor in a second from Fanstoys. But even Hasbro under the Chug line decided to do an exterior trailer that becomes the combiner frame. So would it have been so bad if this literally unplugged off and became its own standalone trailer? It kind of goes with everything else. It wouldn't have been a disaster, I think. But I do not want to take away from what they have achieved. It is very good, and how it all cascades to the back of the figure, folds away in robot mode, is very, very nice, very clean, even if there are a few steps involved. Now, okay, maybe I'll pick on Fanstoys a little bit with this. they went through all of this trouble and engineering and then decided to release a combiner frame with a secondary trailer. I don't think Fanstoys did themselves much hope there, and it's the same with Ethereon. They backed themselves into a corner that it had to be a separate frame, and I gave Fanstoys a bit of stick for that in my Ethereum review. Kind of negates this a little bit. As a standalone figure, which I'll just review today, is absolutely fine, but when it comes to Marauder, for Menasor, when it's all said and done, could it completely change how Roadking was going to come out if it was all going to be a combiner frame come the end of it? But 2019 to 2025, well, there's a bit of gap in between. I like the weapon storage on the underside. I think that's really cool. I'm not massively bothered that if cars can't or can go in the back of it, or half can go in the back of it. It's not essential. I think he does a really good job. I think the robot mode is very, very good and really holds up. It does lack a little bit of articulation, but he's a larger figure. I do like the expression on the face. It does kind of carry that high-end look. Would scale with the likes of Maverick, Silverbolt really, really well, which I've got up in combined form at the moment. But however good it looks, and this figure as a whole, secondary market prices for a Roadking is criminal. This is north of £300. And it's good, but it's not that good. I mean, this is a trouble of just lack of availability. This is where I don't like the secondary market prices. I'm quite pleased what I paid for the 4 that I got. This is probably worth 170, and that's probably what it will retail as, but we are a bit stuck in that situation because Fanstoys have said they are not going to reissue the Stunticons. I think they will in the fullness of time. I think that's what will happen, but for the here and now, it is a good figure. The secondary market prices are not Fanstoys' fault, it's not Roadking's fault. It's good, but I wouldn't be paying double the amount. But if you are wanting to get it and that's the missing piece, well, you are a bit stuck. Based on this, I give this figure 4.5 Rodimus star badges. Very impressive, good weight to it. Really like how the robot mode looks. Just a little bit of articulation here and there is a little bit troublesome in robot mode. And the transformation is involved and could be simpler, but it is also very commendable and a very good looking alt mode come the end of it. But I certainly can't argue with the accessories it comes with. Probably the price is a little bit on the high side. Yes, it is Fanstoys, and yes, it is high quality. But for the minute, it's one of the better Motormasters on the market. Yes, there are a few to choose from as well. I can't see many beating it, but it's depending on what you want it for. If you have it in alt mode, they are much of a muchness. But for what it manages to achieve to cascade up in robot mode, no one else has managed to do that yet. And there we go. That is my review of Fanstoys FT-31A Roadking, their version of a G1 Motormaster. I'll put some photos up at the end. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and hit the subscribe button because I will see you on the next one.